Warning, the following audio transmission is based on theory and is intended for entertainment purposes only. It's Doomsday and its affiliates will not be held liable for anything your dumbass does. Listener discretion is advised.
What's up, Jake? How are you today?
Oh, Daddy Lester, Doom Daddy,
Yeah, man.
Father Jester, just Daddy, I don't know, whatever you prefer. I'm having a day today, buddy. Having a day today. Seems like the world's blowing up one day at a time, and the aliens are here. The water's turning the frogs gay, and all the trains are blowing up. How are you, man?
I'm, my day's not going that bad. For whatever reason, though, and I don't know why this is, I can only hear you in one ear today.
Well, you should try using both of your ears. I
It's not-
don't know. I'm not a biologist, Jester.
It's not me. It's the mixer. Every time you light up, I'm only getting, there's going to be people driving down the roads in the car, and they're going to be like, why can I only hear these guys in my left ear? Like, why are they on the driver's side only?
Every time I'm in a room, I light it up.
Oh, man. Anyway, welcome everybody to It's Doomsday Podcast Live. Today is February 13th, 2023. Time is 6:02 p.m. And joining me as always is the lovely, the talented Jake Dials.
Hello. This is my radio voice.
Nice. I like it. So, my day wasn't quite as eventful. I took the time to go to the DMV today to find out the ins and outs about registering a scooter with the state that I live in, and found out I don't need as much requirements as I thought I did, yada, yada, yada. And the dickhead who had the scooter that told me he would meet me wants me to drive another 4 hours round trip again, and I'm kind of like, fuck that. After which we went and had a lovely breakfast at Cracker Barrel, followed by stopping by Rural King to look for some rabbits. They didn't have the ones I wanted, therefore I didn't purchase rabbits today, and then finished it off with a good 30-minute tactical nap. Yeah.
That's the most hillbilly thing I've ever heard somebody do with their day.
Which part?
All of it. I went to go buy a scooter, and then I went to Cracker Barrel, and then I went to go buy some bunnies, and then I took a nap. Yeehaw.
I guess when you put it like that, you're not wrong.
Oh, your day was way better than mine, though.
Yeah. I guess so. So how was your day?
Oh, my day was okay. It's the night when I really come alive. The night is when the things happen. Jester, I've been spending all week toiling away behind the scenes, and you guys don't even know it. I've been busy. I have been so busy. I got social media out for the first time in my life last night.
Tell me more.
As I went to bed at 2 a.m., because we were, I'm grinding away on these Twitter spaces, and the conversations are lit, man. Yeah, and I've been dropping the knowledge. I don't know if I can say the B word.
You can say whatever you want.
The knowledge explosions all over the interwebs, trying to bring the clarity and the information in the correct way. It's not aliens, guys. It's not aliens, okay? It's not.
It is.
It's not, dude. It's not.
Is it
Not
wrong? I'm
yet.
secretly hoping it's aliens.
Depends why you're hoping it, I guess.
Okay, so I have this firm belief everything that we know today is all based off, a lot of it's based off alien technology. I think all the answers we don't have to the reasons why we're here in our past all stem from extraterrestrial beings. And I just want them to come back and shed some light on some things. That's what I want.
Like what?
Like a lot of things, man, like how the pyramids were built. Like that's
stones.
one thing in many. I want to know about the missing link.
They build them with
There's
stones,
a lot of
dude.
things. Yeah.
They stacked them on up. Chunk, chunk, chunk. Build them all up there.
I'm willing to bet there's a bit more to the story than that. But anyway, so welcome in WV Pappy. Welcome in Jelly 6, Rifle, Just a Minute 2, Crazy Lady, Shelby, and Angela. And I did see F1 in here, but I think he already bounced out. Welcome in everybody that has came into the show today. We have something very good planned for next week, so just bear with us for this week because it's going to maybe not be so good.
Oh, you're saying this one's going to suck. Is that what you're saying? So
I don't know, man. There's a lot going on, dude. I'm really, okay, so let me ask you this. First off, let me ask everybody in the room here. Is everybody hearing us in both ears or just one? Because I'm really confused right now. What's happening?
I hear you in both of my ears.
Well, that's good. I got you on my left side. It feels like you're right next to me.
I could be. I should be.
Both ears. Good. Thank you, Jelly. Welcome in, Raccoon 6. So, okay, question to ask everybody out there. Welcome in, Eric. Question to ask everybody out there. With all these things we're seeing in the media right now, the balloons, the train derailments, the earthquakes, I mean, there's some really bad shit going on out there, and I have to wonder, do you think a lot of these things are just happening all the time and they're just not getting reported on and they're just kind of out of things to report on, and news media outlets are like, hey, we need ratings, let's start reporting on all this stuff?
Are you asking me or are you asking them?
I'm asking you, man.
Dude, I think that it's a combination of things. I think that things happen. Everything's happening all the time, right? Everything's just always happening all the time at once, and that's fine. Accidents happen every single day. There are some that we have to pay attention to because it just doesn't make any sense. None of it makes sense. And I am just tired already. It's only the 13th, and I am just tired of this month already, and there are just going to be continual things happening like this every day, and all of you should be aware of that. So don't get exhausted like myself. I'm going too hard, man. I gotta settle down. I'm tired.
Okay, all right.
So I wanted to talk about the train stuff, not so much the balloon stuff, because the train stuff is super important, and it is honestly an important conversation. As much as the stupid that I say on here all the time just to be funny and all of that, it's honestly super serious, and it's going to be something that's going to affect a large populace of people probably for the rest of their lives.
Okay, well, let's talk about it.
Okay, so I need some like background music for this, like, travel back in time.
Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I could do something. Let's see here.
Just like a nice little doom, doom, doom,
I can maybe do this for you. Hold on.
I have lost all train of thought.
That's not what you were looking for, was it?
That's not what I was. No.
How about this?
No. Ooh, I like this one.
Okay.
Let's take you all back to a time. The year is 2022. Anyway, let's go back to 2022. Nobody wants to go there, right?
Not many people.
No, nobody wants to go back to that. Anywho, so for those of you who have a great ability to recall, there was a little something in the news in 2022 about the strike for the railroads. Do you remember, Jester?
Yes, actually, I do remember the constant conversation about the strike and everybody telling us our supply chain was going to get cut off. The world was going to come to an end because they were going to strike.
Yeah, the world was over because trains, right? Do you know what the strike was about?
Hey preppers, do you want 10% off survival food? Go to www.readywise.com and use code DOOM10 at checkout for 10% off all your survival food needs. Again, that's code DOOM10 at checkout at readywise.com, DOOM10 for 10% off at readywise.com. From my memory, if it serves me correctly, it was about there was no paid sick time, unfair wages. Basically, the guys were overworked, underpaid was the gist of it that I got.
That's the good gist of it. Another really important part of that gist, it has a lot to do with Norfolk Southern. So I'm going to read you what I posted today because nobody checks my Twitter, but it's fine. So here's kind of the gist of it. Norfolk Southern helped convince government officials to repeal brake rules, and corporate lobbyists watered down the hazmat safety regulations. During this was at the time of the strike, and this is why the strike happened. The Biden administration urged railroads and unions to reach a deal during this, if you remember reading some of that, to avoid the stoppage because it would reach an unfavorable outcome where the economy would lose an estimated $2 billion a day.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. That's $2 billion with a B every single day, every 24 hours. It's almost as much as what we've given Ukraine. So, as far as what's going on in East Palestine, Ohio, the company itself, they helped kill a federal safety rule that was aimed at upgrading the rail industry in general's braking systems. So they were using braking systems, this design since like 1896, like Civil War era brakes, literally just air brakes. And the problem with it is that you have this sort of like, you know, the whatever the thing is called that you put on your desk. It's like the 5 little steel balls, and you throw one, and then the one on the opposite side goes, and they go back and forth, whatever that thing's called.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Can't think of the name of it. Always wanted one.
Yeah, and then when it slows down, when you don't have that force generated through, and it's not enough to push all of the steel balls, and you notice that clacky noise they all make just before they stop.
Yeah.
That's what happens to trains with air brakes when they stop. So the main locomotive will apply the brakes, and the air brakes will apply to all of the trains, but the ones in the back are going to receive the most stopping force, launching them forward, and you have this back and forth ricochet motion. And this is partly why it takes trains so long to stop, is because it's not a constant just brake. The wheels are stopped, but the rear of the train is constantly pushing the front of the train forward, if that makes sense. That's about the best way to describe it.
Right, like a forward momentum from the back cars type situation.
Yes. So it was proposed that they wanted to do a braking system that's called ECP. It's an electric braking system, basically. So instead of using the air brakes, they would use an electrical signal that's much quicker and more reliable, and it applies to all of the train cars as a group all at once, so you don't have this little click-clack back and forth. Everything just stops all with one momentum, and there's no hesitation, and there's none of this colliding with each other, and thus causes the train to stop a lot sooner, and you don't have these derailment things. So this was the problem that was the main problem that started the strike, because all of the rail workers were their main argument was, hey, we have safety issues. If you're going to have us carry hazardous materials on these trains, we need to upgrade the braking systems, and it's going to cost this much. So what did the company do?
I'm assuming instead of taking the hit financially from profits or from out of their own pockets, they look to take the money from the workers.
Oh, it's almost like you could.
Wait, is that really what happened? Did I do good?
It's almost like you could run a corporation into the ground, because that's what's happening right now.
Now, hold up. Before you continue into this, I do want to comment on something. So I worked on the rivers when I was younger because I worked on boats on the rivers, and the railroad tracks typically run parallel with rivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the violent cracks you would hear go down the railroads when they would hit these breaks, because you would hear it just all the way down when they were breaking and colliding together.
Yep.
So I do know what you're talking about with these braking systems.
Yeah, and it's a violent stoppage, man. It's not nice. It's not an easy thing to do, and that's why it takes them like a mile to stop, especially heavily loaded trains. And that's why they wanted to shift to something more reliable that isn't from 1896 when Abraham Lincoln was alive, sort of deal. But yes, so they presented this issue, and they said it's going to be a big issue amongst other things. They shortened times that things had to be done, making them less safe. And they said, hey, this is going to cause a problem. You guys realize this, right? And they're like, blah, blah, we can't afford it. Blah, blah, blah. You're like, you're Norfolk Southern. Yes, you can. And they're like, no, we can't afford it. We got to give our president a $10 million raise. We can't afford it. So they didn't do that. Instead, they appropriated funds to pay lobbyists to help water down the regulations regarding safety measures with trains that carry hazardous materials. Sounds smart, right?
I'm just going to go out here on a limb and suggest that there's always been a lot of safety issues revolving around the railroads. And I think that when we talk about safety in railroads, I think a lot of this is regulated by the DOT, is it not?
That I don't know. I've never worked on the railroad, and I'm gathering all the info I can as it comes in, and I'm trying to stay up to date with what's even happening today. So I don't know yet.
So, I mean, you guys got to, I guess, kind of understand this is like the equivalent of a roller coaster, containing biohazardous chemicals, containing very toxic things and fossil fuels. There's a lot that gets pushed on the railroads, right? In the area I grew up in, it was typically coal was on the railroads getting moved around. And if coal spilled, no big deal. That, really wasn't something to be concerned about. But the shit that they're hauling nowadays through certain areas, man, it's a big fracking deal.
It is.
So why would you want to take safety away from that?
Exactly. So here's what they did instead. So the company's lobby group that they hired, they pressed for the rule repeal on all of this hazard material safety measures. They told regulators that it would, quote, impose tremendous costs without providing offsetting safety benefits, unquote. And then now we have what happened in East Palestine, Ohio. So we have a giant acid cloud that like a 50-mile radius in diameter headed straight toward New York.
Hey preppers, check out Blackbeard Fire Starters. Go to www.blackbeardfire.com/doomsday and utilize code doomsday for 10% off your entire order at blackbeardfire.com. Well, at least it's going toward New York, I mean.
Yeah, but it's going to hit PA and it's going to hit everything else on the way.
Yeah, that's a good point. Too bad we can't just drop it off and say California.
That's true.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Drop it on the border right now. That'll stop them. Maybe not. I don't know. This is just the tip of the iceberg, my friend. This East Palestine thing was mishandled from the get-go. And I'm just really, really curious. When things like this happen, my question is, where's the Red Cross? Where's National Guard? Where's FEMA? Where's anyone? Where's the media?
So also, and I'm not going to go ahead and say every state on the East Coast, but there's a handful. You do have the National Guard, you do have FEMA, you do have the Red Cross. But some of these states also have state defense forces that are volunteer services that they could be deploying for these kind of things. It seems like the only people who are really doing anything with this are the first responders, right? And media.
The media's been practically silent on it. There are very few outlets even talking about this, but because it's getting such a buzz on social media, the news outlets are starting to pick it up.
I mean, considering, if you put 2 and 2 together with this, is this really something that they want reported on? I mean, you just had all this controversy surrounding the railroad strikes and then boom. And then someone like you is putting the pieces together. I mean, does that sound like something you'd want out there on Channel 4 Action News?
Are you threatening me?
I'm just saying, man. I'm just
I'm gonna get
saying.
silence for this, dude?
Listen, I have an idea, Jake. This is what we can do. We can go divert the media a little bit by shooting some things out of the sky.
Like what?
I don't know. Like weather balloons.
Why are you saying it that way?
Saying what way?
All of it?
All of it. Anyway.
Anyway,
so you're over here putting the pieces together for this. Tell me more.
I'm trying to put the pieces together because, everybody jumps to conclusions, and it just pisses me off, man. Like, this is why I'm exhausted, because we're going to see this is probably going to be something that it's going to be the worst thing that happened since, I don't know, like September 11th. The company didn't want to fork over money, and because of that, they had a derailment because they were unsafe with handling hazardous materials. And the only thing that happened as a preventative measure was that local authorities cordoned off like a mile radius around the site and told those people that if they didn't leave, they're going to get arrested, which I agree with. I understand that. Hazardous materials, yeah, get the hell out. By any means. People were out for like 3 days. But the problem above this that I have is that they should have cordoned off like a 10-mile radius, dude. They should have. And then the day after the cleanup started to happen, basically day 2 of this, officials came back and said that the water's safe to drink and it's not tainted, which couldn't be further from the truth. And as of right now, the water is literally poison. We're finding fish turned belly up floating in schools everywhere, and now we're seeing the water so far tainted as far down as West Virginia.
Want to be a guest on the show? Email itsdoomsdaypodcast@gmail.com. That's itsdoomsdaypodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. And so apparently there's another derailment, and this was sent. Yeah, this was sent to me by Cloud Angel. You guys know her here and on social media. There was one that took place in Spartanburg, South Carolina, or is it Spartanburg, South Carolina.
There was one. I think I don't even know how to pronounce it. Enery. Is South Carolina?
Maybe it's the same one.
This just happened a couple hours ago. There were 2 more today.
What the fuck is going on with all the trains?
This is where I was leading into this. This is exactly. You're right with me. Okay. So there was one more. Actually, I'm sorry. There's 3. So there was one just the other day in Texas that spilled like 24,000 gallons of starts with an A. This stuff the people use to make meth. Anhydrous ammonia. Anhydrous.
I was gonna say no, not that word. Anyway.
Yeah, 24,000 gallons of anhydrous ammonia was spilled in Texas, then East Palestine, and then today there was another hazardous material derailment right near Houston, Texas, and then another one that's developing currently in Emery, or I think it's Emery, South Carolina.
Right. So I did come a little bit prepared today with an article surrounding this. So a few moments ago, you mentioned about the animals getting sick.
Yes.
Epic Time posted an article today. Animals are falling sick or dying near the train derailment in chemical fire in East Palestine, Ohio, according to reports, which has sparked fears of more widespread impacts. So they're actively reporting this. Taylor Holzer, owner of a farm just outside of the evacuation zone near the fire, told WKBN that several animals that he keeps on his property became ill. Some developed a range of symptoms, including liquid diarrhea and puffy faces. Out of nowhere, he just started coughing really hard, just shut down, and he had liquid diarrhea and just went very fast. Holzer told the outlet one of his animals smoking chemicals from the train, that the only thing that can cause it, because it just happened out of nowhere, he added.
It's
So this guy's
people's cars, dude.
Yeah, so this is, you guys can go back and read this article. I'll post it somewhere on social media for you guys. But there's apparently, going into this more, there's apparently more reports of sick animals just coming out left and right, animals keeling over, dying, liquid diarrhea, and all kinds of shit going on.
Yeah, it's going to be so much worse than what they think it's going to be, dude.
And we haven't even, this hasn't happened long enough ago to see any sort of long-term effects from this. Like, what happens when this affects the water table or local reservoirs or something like that. And, one of the big things with this is it's the time of year when you're getting both snow and rain, right? Different parts of the Northeast are getting snow as to where other parts could be getting rain. I'm just going to assume that this is going to be carried differently in an area that's getting rain versus an area that's getting snow. Okay, I'm just going to assume that. And we don't know what long-term effects are yet. Right?
No, this is only like day 4, dude. We have no idea, but it's going to be so much more worse. It's going to be worse than what they're even going to say. They're not saying anything. Administration has said nothing, and not even touched on it. There's been like 4 train derailments, not even in a week span. 2 of which are definitely carrying hazardous materials on them, and our transportation secretary has been silent and talking about nothing but equity. And I don't know why, and that kind of pisses me off too. And this is going to have potentially lifelong effects for people, like a range of symptoms for everyone's understanding. On the slight end is like dizziness and nausea, upset stomach, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea, and
Hey preppers, check out Blackbeard Fire Starters. Go to www.blackbeardfire.com/doomsday and utilize code doomsday for 10% off your entire order at blackbeardfire.com.
that was like the Pepto-Bismol song, by the way.
Right, I was just going to make a joke saying we need a Pepto-Bismol derailment next.
Yeah. But the severe symptoms, dude, like liver cancer, pancreatic cancer, lung cancer, stomach cancer, basically all the cancers, neurological disorders, neurological impairment. And we won't know these effects until there's what's being burned off is the same component made or used to make PVC. It's harmless in its liquid state, and it's carried in a liquid state, which is why they burned it. But it was basically just a big bubbling brew of vinyl chloride is what it's called. And it's practically harmless in its liquid state, but when it's burned off, it is highly, highly hazardous. The people who handle this chemical and the factories that produce it, they are only allowed to come into contact with it, with their skin, 1 part per million per 8 hours.
Wow.
And this leaked out at like 250,000 gallons of this, and it's in the ground, it's in the water, and it's in the air, and it's a giant cloud of acid, basically phosphorus gas that's just traveling with the wind toward the East Coast.
I still don't understand why they decided to burn it off.
Because white noise, man. Somebody saw the movie and said it's a good idea. Let's do that.
I mean, you would think you would have a hazmat team come in, put down, there's things they make. I can't remember what the hell they're called, but we had to be trained on these things when I worked on the rivers. There's basically these big rolled up pillows that you put out, to kind of keep the liquid from moving. And they're designed to absorb the oil, but not water, or chemicals, but not regular water. And, you would think that they would put this stuff out to keep this thing kind of contained, and that they would, suck this stuff up. They would bring other tankers in to do a hazmat cleanup.
Sure. And that's going to be fundamentally cheaper than the next 10, 20, 30 years of these people's lives, when they're sitting there because they can't walk, and they're literally sitting there when they can't talk anymore, when they have the shakes uncontrollably, when they have seizures, and when they're riddled with cancer. What's going to cost them more down the road? And the only thing financially that's been donated so far is $25,000 by Norfolk Southern to help the cleanup efforts, which, if you divide it out through East Palestine, it gives every household $5 whole.
Damn. It's what it sounds like, though, man. It sounds like a big pharma wet dream.
It sounds like a class action lawsuit's wet dream, if you ask me. Because again, I always go back to the whole: have you or a loved one been injured by the East Palestine train wreck? If so, our law firm would like to talk to you. Call 1-800-NORFOLK is effed. Because that's what's going to happen, my friend. And for those of you who don't know, I equate this to 9/11 because, some 3,500 people died, and the ones who survived and were in the main blast radius of this at ground zero inhaled vast amounts of asbestos and other chemicals, and are suffering for the rest of their lives for it, with not a single lawsuit to ever happen, and for none of them to ever receive any relief, financially or otherwise, in any legal context. And the same thing is going to happen here, I'm afraid. That's my fear.
I can't help but think the amount of people that are going to be affected. You say this cloud is moving toward New York now.
Yeah, it's going to go through Pennsylvania, and it's going to head toward New York. And the next couple days are set for high winds everywhere. The Midwest pretty much carries over toward East Coast, and it's going to be windy the next couple days. So when you step outside and you feel that wind, just be glad that it's going away from you, because it's certainly headed toward Pennsylvania, and it's certainly headed toward New York. But if you live south of Ohio, what's the one main river that runs through Ohio down south?
The Ohio River.
And it's poisoned all the way down to West Virginia so far. And where does it go from there?
To the Mississippi.
Yeah.
Then it goes to the Gulf of Mexico.
Yup.
I studied a little bit in school.
Good.
Is there a map online where you could track the cloud?
Some people are trying to track it, but eventually it's going to dissipate into concentration that it's just going to spread. A lethal dose, I'm not sure. I don't know all the measurements. I don't know all the quantities and all of that. But as it drifts, it's going to expand. And if it's dense enough, it's going to expand wide enough and hurt enough people. But still, it's going to catch in the clouds, and it's going to rain back down, and it's going to get into the ground. It's going to seep into our food. It's going to seep into our waterways, regardless.
So if I was... First off, I'm wondering where the hell the EPA was at. Did they step in on this at all?
Nope.
Wow. Because this is like their job, right?
Now you see why I'm pissed off about it, man.
I mean, that's what they get paid for, right?
Yes. Yes, you pay a company that says, "Hey, we're emergency people. We will tend to emergencies when they happen." And you say, "Okay, you're hired." And then an emergency happens, and then you say, "Hey guys, remember that stuff we paid you for?" "Yeah." "Okay, well, we got one of those. You want to come?" "Nah, we're good." What?
You know, if you guys happen to get online and look up this cloud that's floating around, guys, this thing looks biblical in nature.
It is somebody got in trouble because because he said that they dropped an atomic bomb full of acid gas on the people and got away with it.
So, okay, so we don't have the EPA involved in this. And I'm kind of wondering, why they're not being involved in this at all. Did somebody make them step down? Did they simply say, we don't want to take any parts of this?
That's what I would like to know. And again, where's FEMA? Where's Red Cross? Where's National Guard? Where's anyone?
And I'd also like to know, all these, okay, so this is, and I'm not trying to hate on anybody, but I am going to for a second here. So all these people that, care about the environment and, want the peace and love people, right? Hey preppers, do you want 10% off survival food? Go to www.readywise.com and use code DOOM10 at checkout for 10% off all your survival food needs. Again, that's code DOOM10 at checkout at readywise.com, DOOM10 for 10% off at readywise.com. You need to drive an electric vehicle people. Where are they at right now? Why aren't they protesting
Greta?
What's going on?
Where's Greta and all of
Yeah,
this?
that chick. Where's she at? The meme girl, right? That's who you're talking about?
Yes. How dare you?
I'm sorry.
No, that's what she says.
Oh, that's what she says? That's what she said, because she's not saying it now.
She should be.
Rusty says they're far away from the real world. Let me go ahead and welcome back in everybody that's new, that's popped in. Bob, welcome in. Sarah, welcome in. Kate, Cloud, Richardson, Judo, welcome in. Rusty, welcome in. And Raccoon. Oh, Raccoon's been here. I think I got to everybody else. Welcome in everybody who's coming in. If you're coming in today, we're talking more about this train wreck that has happened. And it doesn't seem like there's going to be any accountability about this at all.
Not right now, it doesn't. But things have to develop, It's this is gonna be like one of those things when you look back on it when we're like in our 50s, be like, oh yeah, remember that train wreck back in the day that took a whole town over and released a giant cloud of acid. Yeah, all those people are sick now. Really? Yeah.
I'm wondering, because I'm willing to bet any amount of money that they're somehow going to redivert the cost of this back to the American taxpayers. I'm waiting for that to be a thing out of this. And especially
because we still have to deal with these other two that just happened.
Right. So that's what, 3 train wrecks in a week, right?
4.
Okay. And the other ones were carrying hazardous chemicals as well, right?
The one
South Carolina.
East Palestine was anhydrous ammonia. East Palestine was vinyl chloride and a couple other things. The one today near Houston was that was just so far labeled hazardous materials, and the one in South Carolina is developing, so I don't know yet. I'm trying to keep up on it as we go, and I put all this stuff on Twitter and Telegram, so you guys can find it if you want to. I'm going to keep dropping it as we go.
So what's kind of odd to me. I'm trying to find information about the one in Houston to see if they're releasing any of the chemicals.
This is immediately where my brain goes with it, Jester, and it'll probably make you go, ah. So do you know what specifically vinyl chloride targets?
Going back and looking at this, I want to say lung. It said, I was reading about it yesterday. I think it targets the lungs.
Targets the
and the
respiratory
liver.
system.
Okay.
What also targets the respiratory system, and people are dying from it.
COVID-19.
Ba-doom.
Welcome in, Maverick, and welcome in, Alexa. Welcome in, guys. So this could be that whole scapegoat situation for, the vaccine's not really doing any good.
I don't want to think that way, but I think that way, and it could be. Because what happens now is since this was declared an accident, a disaster of an accident, and if people are harmed from it, there are certain regulations and things that you're free from litigation of should people suffer by the hands of what's considered an act of God. So do you see where my brain goes with this?
Yeah, I absolutely do.
So instead of people dying of COVID, people will die of the East Palestine exposure.
This would imply that this was all on purpose.
It would imply that, and I'm not trying to imply that. I'm just saying that's immediately where my mind goes.
It's almost kind of hard to argue in the other direction.
It is.
Especially when you have so many happening so quick that all contain hazardous chemicals. Right?
Yes.
And I gotta highlight Raccoon's comment here too. This also is a reason to call for a national emergency.
Again.
National emergencies come with national funding.
Yes.
And a lot of other things too. Rules, regulations, loss of freedoms.
A lot of governing powers, a lot of stay in your houses or you're getting arrested.
So here's something to think about, guys. After COVID-19 and the pandemic and the lockdowns and everything else, a lot of people, including myself, spoke out on the idea that we traded freedoms for safety. Our big priority wasn't our freedom anymore. It was our safety. And you were willing to abide by certain rules and regulations to ensure your safety. And the government and the higher-ups found out that, hey, this works really, really well. People will listen if we tell them it's for their own good, okay? Now that rules and regulations and everything are ending, okay, we need something new to be in fear of so we could be regulated again, so we could be controlled again. Could this be part of that?
I don't see why not, man. What more perfect time? Now you've got 4 train wrecks in basically 4 days.
And what's really funny is I read an article maybe 2 weeks ago, a week and a half to 2 weeks ago, talking about how Biden is going to end the pandemic. About how are we going to? It was an article that read Joe Biden states he's going to end pandemic. And how are we going to return to a normal life? My life's been pretty fucking normal. I don't know about yours. There is no more COVID restriction or anything in my area. Nobody's talking about the vaccine anymore. Everything has been calmed down where I live. And is this the new thing to keep everybody regulated, to keep us all in check?
I don't know. But thus far, just the water source alone affects 5 million people.
Yeah, so that's not an insignificant number by any way, shape, or form. I mean, 5 million people depending on a water supply, you're talking people getting displaced, people getting sick, a lot going wrong. And where do you put the displaced people?
Exactly.
That's kind of
FEMA,
a big
right?
deal. Oh fuck! I didn't want to go there.
So the town of East Palestine currently, they don't have anywhere to put people, and because they don't have anywhere to put people, the churches have to put people because that's what churches do, and the churches don't have any food, and because the water's tainted, they can't drink the water in East Palestine probably for years. And as I look through, you were right about Spartanburg. It's Spartanburg County, South Carolina. The other one is Montgomery County, Texas.
Okay.
And I'm looking through as we go. But apparently all they're saying about the one in South Carolina was acid so far. And that's all that they've said.
Yeah, but what kind of acid?
I don't know. That's all that they've said.
Oh my God. So yeah, just because they label something briefly as acid, that doesn't mean that that's not a cause for concern in any way. What if it's hydrochloric acid?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean, it's not like they're accidentally spilling citric acid now, is it?
Nope.
Yeah, Cloud says hydrochloric. Maybe that's what it was. Thank you, Cloud. She's been sending me things and keeping me up to date with what's going on with this stuff today. So thank you for that, Cloud. It's greatly appreciated.
As of right now, 10% of the U.S. population could be impacted by the East Palestine disaster. There's 400 million people in the United States. You do the math, that's a shitload of people.
So that's 40 million?
40
or is my
million.
math off? Okay, look at that. I did pay attention in school. And Eric says, or sulfuric acid. Yeah. And it's a really and I hate to do the I told you so thing, and I'm going to kind of do the I told you so thing. So I preach to people all the time, be prepared for when shit breaks bad, because anything can break bad. You don't know what it's going to be. Having a food supply, having water filtration, having these things on hand is fucking great. And everybody looks at me like, dude, nukes aren't just going to fall out of the sky, man. And you're crazy. Go back and eat your beans in your bunker with your tinfoil hat. And it's like, that's not what I'm getting at. This is anything that can go wrong. It's better to just be prepared. And now we're seeing these things happen left and right. And the news has been filled with disaster for like the last 2 weeks. And it's the train derailments, the earthquakes, and balloons in the sky, and military aircraft. And it's like 2023 has just fucking started. I swear to God, Jake, January was the longest month.
No. February is going to be the longest month, my friend.
There's too much going on.
Today is February 46th, and we only have 97 more days to go. Just trust me, there's going to be something that will happen every single day. What these things are, I do not know, but just trust me, through February and March, something is going to happen every single day.
This is an emergency action message. At approximately 1 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, NORAD is tracking 15 ICBM nuclear missiles inbound to the following cities: Orlando, Miami, Pittsburgh, Dover, Newark, Richland, Philadelphia, New York City, Baltimore, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Boston, Seattle, Detroit. This is an extremely deadly situation. Stay tuned. The next emergency message will be a presidential address.